Hi, I'm Julie Neckley, and I wanted to make a quick video on why relationships are very tricky according to astrology. And I've touched on this subject before, but I feel like it's worth talking about again. So basically, it's like this. Humans are like dishes at a Mexican restaurant. We're all made of the exact same ingredients, but some of those ingredients are outside of the burrito and some of those ingredients are inside the burrito. So whatever your ingredients you don't see outside the burrito are hidden inside of the burrito. And when you meet someone, you're meeting the outside of the burrito. But once you get into a relationship with them, you're living on the inside of the burrito. And so you are enmeshed in all the ingredients that weren't visible from the outside. And the reason for this is pretty simple. Because humans are made of a spirit and a soul. And our soul is what we know in our bones, what's familiar to us. It's the environment that we were brewed in growing up. It's our past. It's everything that is part of us when we're not trying, when we're lying in bed, when we're sick, when we're barely conscious, we're still our soul. Whereas our spirit is everything that we find aspirational. It's what we're striving towards. It's what motivates us. It's what we value. It's what we think is beautiful, and we're moving towards it. So our soul and our spirit are always opposite mirror energies by definition, for this reason. Because our spirit evolves in response to our soul. For example, our spirit, what we find aspirational, is always the opposite in some way of what we were immersed in growing up. Like if we are surrounded by people who are super fat, we aren't going to find it aspirational to help people gain weight because we live in a world where it's easy to be fat. It's not something we aspire to. We don't aspire to help other people get fatter. We take being fat for granted. Likewise, if we're in a world where everyone's too thin, we're not going to become like a liposuction doctor. That wouldn't seem to be aspirational at all. We're going to we might think it's aspirational to create foods that help people gain weight. We might find soft pillows aspirational. We'll find things aspirational because they somehow counterbalance what we were immersed in as a child and what we saw all around us. So basically, in our bones are the energies of our environment, but our spirit is attracted to those things that we're missing how we grew up and that were really needed. And those are the things that in life we're like, wow. Isn't that just so awesome and amazing? So when we're meeting someone, we're meeting them in our spirit, right? We're bringing our best self, what we see as our best self. And if you grew up in a world where everyone was a skeleton, your best self is going to be plump. You know what I mean? So our best self is going to be different from our soul. Our best self is our spirit. It's what we're aspiring to. And that's a real part of who we are. Our spirit is a real part of who we are. And we're also seeing the other person through the eyes of our spirit. So our spirit is somehow getting projected onto them. We're seeing them as having those qualities that we value and that we aspire to. We're more likely to see those sorts of qualities in them. So that's all great. And that is a truly real part of us. And that's one reason why we feel so great, some of us do, in the beginnings of relationships, because we're getting to be the self that we aspire to be, right? And we're seeing this other person who we also view as aspirational. So the only problem is, as a relationship progresses, we eventually move in together. And once you move in together, even if you don't physically move in together, at the very least you become comfortable with one another. They become part of your comforting routine, not just something aspirational, right? So at that point, they're moving from your sun and your spirit into your moon and your soul, right? It's like when you get married, you live in the same house, you're sleeping in the same bed. Nobody is their aspirational self when they're lying in bed at night. That's when you become your soul. You sink back into those deeper energies that are unconscious, that you were stewed in, that you've been stewed in your whole life, or for many lifetimes if you believe in that. So it's like a completely different self. So basically you fall in love with this spirit self, and then you marry the soul self. You marry the self who they are when they're a blob, when they're lying in bed, half conscious, when they're sitting on the couch, and they aren't aspirational, they're just relaxing. When you're relaxing, you're stepping back into your soul, You're stepping back into what's easy, into what's familiar, not into what's aspirational. And what's familiar is kind of the opposite energies of what you find aspirational. And that's most of who you end up being in a relationship with, is the person's relaxed blob self when they're acting on autopilot, aka they're in their soul, not their spirit. So what can be done about this? I mean, it's kind of tricky because let's say you fall in love with them for their like watery, caring, emotionally attuned energy in the first house. Well, that means they got an earth sign in the 7th house, which means they're more likely to be really cold, practical, potentially critical, depending on which sign, once you're actually in a relationship with them. So it's like the qualities that you're being drawn to are likely to fade while other qualities come to the forefront. So what's the solution? 2 possibilities. One is choose someone who's basically a decent person, but who doesn't have any qualities that you particularly like and who doesn't see you in a way that you particularly like. Marry them and then hope that they turn into your Prince Charming. Kind of like how in fairy tales a woman will kiss a frog or a beast and then he turns into Prince Charming. So you could try that and let me know how it goes. The second option is to consult an astrologer and ask them the person's moon sign. Ask them the sign that rules the 7th house and the 4th house. That's the house of marriage and the house of childhood and home, because these are the energies that aren't going to be visible to you in the beginning, but that are going to dominate later on. So it's like the astrologer can't tell you if he'll be a good man or a bad man, because obviously a person can go from being bad to good during their lifetime while their chart stays the same. Hence, it's impossible for the chart to say how evolved they are or whether or not they're going to be a good or a bad expression of these energies, but it can say which energies you'll be encountering. So the astrologer can tell you like if he's going to be, like practical, cold, sweet, headstrong and argumentative, or accommodating, things like that. Secondly, the astrologer can tell you which things are going to disappear. For example, the 5th house, that's the house of romance. And that is a mirror image of the 11th house, which is our peer group. So once again, it's like the qualities that we use when we're trying to be special and charming are in some sense going to be the mirror image of the qualities that were overemphasized in our peer group, right? Because those start to seem excessive and oppressive. And so we become attracted to that which is different and helps us stand out in our peer group by expressing qualities that aren't common. That's our 5th house. And those are the qualities that we use to romance someone else, to court them, because we see those qualities as being charming. But that's pretty much gonna bite the dust once you're in a relationship. So make sure you are okay saying goodbye to those qualities. And then the qualities in the 1st house and the 7th house, that's their sun and their ascendant, you will still see those qualities sometimes, even in a relationship. Like if you're going out to dinner with them, if you see them talking to the mailman, but that's not generally the part of themselves that's going to be expressed towards you. You're going to get the moon and the 7th house, and those qualities are also going to start to be projected onto you. In the beginning, they'll see you as having, there's more qualities relating to their sun and 1st house. In the end, they'll see you having qualities more related to their 7th house and moon, especially if you're a woman. So definitely look out for what his moon is in his 7th house, because that's likely how he's going to end up seeing you. So, like I said, this doesn't mean that the change will be for the worse. It could be a change to the better. It just means that you're going to get a totally different dish than the one you thought you were ordering. And if you have any ideas on what can be done about this and better solutions, please let me know, because I would love to hear it. Thank you. I'm Julie Neckley. Bye.